Hey everyone, it's Cathy Zielske for Simon Says Stamp, and today I'm going to share 5 ways to create clean and simple holiday cards. I'm excited to share these tips with you. They're very simple, the cards are very simple, and I think you will be inspired to strip it down and, well, keep it simple. Let's get into the cards. Tip 1 is start with some simple die shape. Now I'm going to use Wonky Trio, which is something I designed for Simon Says Stamp. But any tree die, snowflake, whatever you have, just pick a simple die shape to create some cards. So we've got this, and I'm going to create a really easy background here, just using a few colors and a nice big brush. This is a number 14, Zen Royal and Langnickel, very inexpensive. And we're just going to smush down some color onto a glass or slick surface. And we're going to use these colors to make a pretty background. Now, this is just Neenah Classic Crest Solar White in the 110. You don't need to have watercolor paper to do this because we're really not taking a ton of water. We're just going to start here with the light color and just potch it down. Very, very, very basic. Nothing heroic. Get some clean water. You can dry in between if that's your jam, but I'm just going to do a little of this. Just kind of get that overlap. You can make this background as big as you like. I'm going to keep it pretty basic and tight in here because I know how little my trees are. Just kind of up and potch like that. All right, that's it for the background. Now, all I'm going to do is let this dry, or you can take a heat tool and facilitate the drying. Just going to wipe this up real quick. And we'll just take a low heat tool and just really facilitate the drying. Doesn't take long. You could do a bunch of these at once, which would be a great time saver. And I'm going to show you this on one because this is one of my favorite ways to make something that's simple. Just have a little extra, and that's to put a little snow on it. So I'm going to use this titanium white fluid acrylic ink. It's just my favorite product to use for snow. I'm going to take any brush will do. Lately I've just been using a tiny little number 2 brush. I wet it down just a little bit, pick some up, start off to the side, and then tap on snow. Now, of course, we're going to let that dry before we die cut, but you could see how you could have a bunch of these for different types of shapes that you had and just do all of the snow at once. And that way, your trees are going to have a beautiful look of snow. While this was drying, I cut out 3 small greetings from the Holiday Typewriter Trio out of some Simon Says Stamp matte silver cardstock, as well as the tree stands or the bases. So those I'm going to set right here until I'm ready. And then I'm going to get my trees and we'll just go ahead and cut these out. So the snow is mostly dry and I'm just going to frame it out so it gets a little of as much as I can, right? You can see, kind of play around with it a little. This guy maybe has to be a little bit more like that. It really just kind of depends. And that too, you can make a bigger base for the next one. I'm just going to do it like that because I think that will be pretty, because I'm not going to use all these trees on my card, but I have another idea to show you. So let me cut these out. Now I have my 3 trees in these beautiful colors, and you can save this if you like for some other piece or strip, but you can see how tiny these are and how cute that is with the color. Let's make a quick card. I cut this panel to be 3.5 by 4 3/4 and just put some Simon Says Stamp Big Mama foam tape on the back of this panel to give it a little dimension, and we'll pop it right onto this Simon Says Stamp Lavender note card. The next tip I have for creating clean and simple cards is include a generous margin in the form of your card base. Don't be afraid to create some layers of dimension. So this tree is going to come here, and this little friend, I'm going to tuck him in just a little so they're both in the center, but I will make sure that this is trimmed where it needs to be. And then we just need to have room for our piece. So you kind of figure all these things out. We're going to come here and here. All right, we'll start gluing these things down. I'm going to grab some Simon Says Stamp dot adhesive, which will be a nice way to get adhesive on these little pieces. I have my micro dots, but first I'm going to place my tree one. We're going to go right about there. All right, and drop that down. And the thin foam squares will nicely hold that in place. And now I'll just take some liquid glue here and put some on and leave a little space where I can slide my little stand up once I figure out how deep I want it to be. All right, so he's about the same from side to side, and press. I'm going to get a piece of the micro dot out. What I do with this is when I'm done with any section, I just cut it, because then I don't have to worry that I don't have adhesive. So I'm going to take the micro dots, and what I like to do also is put my magnet down until I'm sure of where things are going to go. You drop them in. And this is really nice for delicate little pieces, okay? And actually, while I'm here, I should also do the extra, because I'm going to show you a quick tag too, like that. Then you just let it go. I like to take my Teflon bone folder, just kind of burnish like that. And then what I do is I'll take my scissors, and I especially like these scissors because they do not stick, and I just cut it away. Then I never have to worry, oh, did I place something down where there was no dot adhesive? Then I will stick it right back into my little Simon pocket that I keep my micro dots in, and I have that ready to go for the next time. Peel off the backers, and I will just take this with its adhesive. I'll just press it in the center and drop like that. We'll do the same on the other side, but this time I am going to have to cut a little. So let's figure that out real quick. That. The funny thing about clean and simple cards, sometimes they take longer than you think they're going to take. So pressing that down, and now we will take our piece greeting off. And also you want to make sure, something that I did not do, I have the center of the E in here, and I need to get that out. The little, what it's called a counter. And now we're just going to line this up at the bottom for peace. Side to side. And actually, what's kind of cute is you can, if you want it to be curved, you certainly can. I'm going to try to get that a little straighter. Same thing here. That, my friends, is a very clean and simple holiday card. Get you up just a little bit more here. You can always use your bone folder to push things up and straighten them, and then it doesn't hurt the cardstock at all. All right, how fun is that? So simple. So pick a simple die, add a margin to your cards, and the next tip, white space. Open space or white space is your friend when designing clean and simple cards. And I wanted to show you, you can also make a quick tag with your leftovers, put a little twine, and you're good to go. All right, let's move on. The next way to create a clean and simple design with a lot of pop is to create texture. The Simon Says Stamp 3D embossing folders are fantastic for doing this, and we also have a number that cut out the elements as well. So let me get my die cut machine and show you how this works. I've got my Spellbinders Platinum 6, and I will put platform A and B into the machine. And then I'm just going to take 2 metal shims. Any metal shim will work, but this is the sandwich that has been working so well for me and my embossing folders. Now, here I'm going to open this up, and one side is the deboss and one side is the emboss. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but I'm going to take a piece of cardstock here, and I'm going to shift it a little to be, right about here. I trimmed this down to be 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And now I'm just going to run it through spine first and show you the beautiful texture that results. Coming through, open this up, and now when I flip it over, you get all that texture. See that? Now that right there is cool in and of itself, right? We've got the ornaments and the texture and the little chains recede a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these dies and I'm going to go ahead and cut out some matte silver cardstock because we're going to emboss just the ornaments. Now that I've got my shapes, what I'm going to do is pop them right back into where they fit. And then carefully, right, we are going to, yeah, let's go this way, let's go the right way, emboss these shapes so that if I want to use these, actually, which one do I want? I kind of like the look of that one. And maybe that one, and maybe that one. It'll just be fun, but you want to make sure that they are in the dip down because now we are going to be pressing this up into the design. So let's pull our plate back through and again, run this through to add that texture to our matte silver cardstock. Okay. Then when we open up, how pretty is that? We now have these textured ornaments, and the reason you want to do it this way is so that you don't try to die cut after the fact and press out all of that beautiful texture. All right, let's arrange this for a card. I'm actually going to do this again because I want this to be, I want to have a little more open space down here in my panel. So I'm going to run that through and then I will pop it up on this lavender note card. So here I changed where I embossed and then I cut out one more of these and now I can have an arrangement that I really like. Now you can pop these up if you want, or you can just use a little liquid glue, which is a lot quicker and kind of easy just to get it so it holds it mostly in place, right? And then you just pop it down right over. The other fun thing about this is you don't have to stick it on the exact same design if you change your mind like I did, because I wanted to have this arrangement with 3. So instead of putting my little guy here, I'm going to put it up top. So it can really be whatever you want. These can also just be standalone. You don't have to use them on the actual embossed background, but here is just such a simple way to create this really elegant texture. And using embossing folders, I think, is such a quick way to create something that looks like it's a lot fancier and that you might have done a lot more work than you did. All I have to do now is top this with a greeting, but look at that beautiful tone-on-tone texture, and then the silver is going to just hold it all together. Let me grab a quick greeting to pop on, and we'll finish this card. I went ahead and die cut a word here. This is the word Mary, and I thought I would just do it in the lavender because I thought that would show up best. And then I'm going to drop it kind of just right in the middle here. So you can still see the ornament and you can still see all the texture, but this kind of fits really nicely right into that space. And I'll let that adhere. And that is the finished card project. If you wanted to do a little Christmas sub greeting, you certainly could, but I think that is so pretty. It's clean and simple, but also has all that texture, and by layering in the embossed die cut shapes, you also get kind of a fun pop of surprise. And again, you have that margin framing out your simple design, lots of open space. And again, open space or white space doesn't need to be empty or white. This just happens to have all this beautiful texture in the background, and it serves as this open, resting, calm space, which is perfect for a clean and simple card. For the next tip, it's keep it simple with your choices. Oftentimes when you get a large stamp set, it has all sorts of things in it. And what I like to do when I first get a stamp set is start really simple. So pick a couple blooms and one greeting and make a card from that. So let's get started and make a really simple card, but I'm also going to use some of the colors I've used on the other cards as well. Let me get set up to stamp. I'm going to start out by stamping these few images. Now I have my grip mat inside of my MISTI tool, so I'll just put that in and hold that down. And then I can do all my stamping at once. I'm going to go with more of a winter flower. So I'm going to take my lighter cube in the lilac, like right, and do both of my flowers like this, and press. Now I'm going to stamp that a couple of times just to get a really nice impression. Inking up with the lilac here. And the only reason I'm going to use my little stamp press. The only reason I'm not doing the others at the same time is I'm going to let those dry for a second while I move on to my leaves. And for the leaves, I'm going to go with Aspen. And again, we're going to go with the lighter of these colors on the base layer, and the detail is going to be one step darker. Drop it down. All right. Next, I'm going to get the detail layers and bring these in. So these sheets also tell you what goes with what. This is E1, that's E2. So I'm going to take you down and just line you up. Do the same with this flower up here. And it's pretty easy. And you know what? Even if you don't have it lined up perfectly, it doesn't really matter because it's just to add some texture. And we'll just pop the details right in here. And I'm probably going to do possibly an extra leaf off camera. But again, I'm still starting and sticking with a very simple design, even though this stamp set is packed with all sorts of images. All right, picking these things up. And now I can take my darker color. I'm going to jump down to Amethyst because I want these centers to have a nice contrast like that. See how pretty that is? Just adds that little bit of extra layer inside. And again, does not have to be perfect. I am not worried that that is not perfectly lined up. And for the leaves, I'm going to go in with the second color. This is more of the mid-tone. I'm going to do Sage. And I think these are nice winter flower colors. Press that down. That looks great. And press that down. So even though we're a little bit off here, it's no big deal. I'm going to do one more leaf and then we'll stamp a greeting. For my greeting, I'm going to pop in Season's Greetings right here at the top. And I'm going to prime that a little with my finger. And we're going to take our anti-static powder and go all over the cardstock, which just removes any static or oil. And then I'm going to grab my Simon Says Stamp clear embossing ink. We're going to ink this up really well, bring it down, transfer, and I'm going to hit it one more time just to make sure I have a nice coating of ink. Just sort of walk my fingers over, not pressing so hard that I squish the letters, but making sure that we've transferred the ink. This is the Simon Says Stamp Ultra Fine Silver. Sprinkle that on. You can see how beautifully it's stamped and how the powder, the anti-static powder, helped that to fall away. Let me heat up my heat tool so I can melt this powder. All right, that looks great. Now I have this beautiful silver shiny greeting, but I also want to stamp the centers of my flowers in silver as well. So I'm going to bring my MISTI back in. I'm going to place this back in here, and I'm going to grab the centers from this set. Just get it as close to the center as you feel you can, because it's going to look pretty no matter what. Pick up. Now, this is really important here. You really want to put a lot of powder down on the blooms because the positively saturated ink takes a little longer to dry. So now we'll just ink these up, these little centers, get them a nice bit of ink, bring this down, and we're going to press and hold. I don't want to stamp it too many times because it does have a little bit of detail. Now we'll pick it up Bring that here. So then we'll have a matching silver center on each flower. Powder and powder. And actually, that looks great. And now I have a pretty shiny center on each flower. So let me go ahead and die cut all of these things, and then I'll share my final tip. My final little tip for what I like to do to add a little more to a clean and simple card, I'll do a color spatter. So here I'm going to take the orchid, I'm going to wet it down, right? Just get it like this. And then I'm going to take my other brush. This is a fan brush, but my other brush is in the sink right now. So we'll just use this. And then we're just going to add some purple spatter to our card, just in sort of like a, kind of a diagonal. It's super random. It just adds a little color, and that is going to make my panel just have a little bit more. All right, let's assemble the card. I've popped that panel onto a white note card, and now I can put my greeting on, and I am going to use just a little foam tape. Also, I doubled up my greeting with an extra layer die cut behind it, and we're going to pop this onto the base first, and then I'll figure out my blooms. And I'm going to add just a little liquid glue to my foam squares to give them a little float time, because they stick so hard and fast. And I will bring in my T-square, but this will be just, well, actually, this is not a hard one to line up. You just want to line it up from side to side, right? Get that in there, and I'm pretty sure that's straight, but you can always just say, is that lining up? Bring it down just a little because of the glue, like that maybe. There we go. And let's see here at the top too. Yeah, that looks good. And now I just have to arrange my flowers. But see how that little cascade of spatter is just kind of nice? I like that, so that's what we're doing. We're going to take 3 foam squares for the back, and the foam squares I'm using in today's video are all the thinner loft. They're the lower depth foam square. And I'm going to put, again, a little liquid glue here. And I just put them in the middle so I would have the ability to figure out where I want my leaves to go. So I'm actually going to pull those leaves out so I don't inadvertently glue them in the wrong position. But this is all sort of gathered together. And now I can take a little liquid glue here. And because I didn't put foam squares on the outside, we can have that jutting out right into that little margin, which I think is kind of cute. So however you want to do it, but in this way, right, we've created what is basically a clean and simple design with a complex stamp set. So don't get overwhelmed when you have all these fun, beautiful multi-stamp sets, right? Just pick a couple images, do them how you will, right? And then create what is essentially a simple card. This would be very fun also to mass produce, and you certainly could by just doing a bunch of your flowers at the same time and tuck that in like that. And then you can also do, a little bit of zhuzhing of the other areas. And that is my finished card project. Again, I'm not really putting any bling on these cards because I am keeping them so simple, but that last little bit of spatter adds so much to the finished card. So that is the last card in today's video. I hope these 5 tips help you when you go to create some clean and simple holiday cards. You can find links to all of the products I used in today's video in the YouTube description box. If you're not a subscriber to the Simon Says Stamp YouTube channel, we'd love to have you. There's so much inspiration we share here, so become a subscriber and be sure to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss the next time we post. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at SimonsSaysStamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.